HBAR holders, we just got hit with some very big news, and I definitely have to address it in this video because it is pretty significant and it has already affected the price of HBAR. Now, by the time that this video does go live, will the price action, stay stable or not? We don't know, but I will give you guys my overall view of where HBAR is currently on the chart, along with some of these big announcements that recently just happened. So welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video you do become a subscriber. Let's dive on in and let's actually start off first with this announcement from Hedera, which is the fact that they are going to be sponsoring the Ethereum Denver hackathon with $50,000 in total bounty prizes. Is it a significant amount of money? Not exactly, but it is still enough to actually get some work done and bring on some devs and things like that. I think that this actually going to be I think that this will be pretty exciting to see, simply because I do think that we will see some pretty big announcements from this. Now, this is the first portion of this, which is $20,000 in terms of the Hedera EVM builder. So build and deploy EVM based applications on Hedera using the Hedera smart contracts and integrating key tools like Chainlink, Pyth, Layer 0, or even the Hedera token service system contracts. Optionally, use additional Hedera services for added innovation. And we do see the 4 tiers here in terms of the actual winners. Now, on top of this, we also have $25,000 in total for the Hedera AI and agents challenge. Again, pretty much the same breakdown here, except the prizes are a little bit different. So like I said, this is not a massive amount of money, but it is enough to actually get the ball rolling here on some great, applications. Also, I forgot to mention the $5,000 in terms of the Hedera Explorers tab. But just in general, we are going to see some pretty big, announcements from this. I think that we'll see some nice building here as well. And who knows, we might see a new project launching on Hedera from this. So very exciting time. And also Hedera will be at ETHDenver in a big way. And this is going to be from the 23rd of February to the 2nd of March. So definitely focus on this because I do think that it will be a significant event. It's definitely a big event as well, as you guys can see. And I do think that we're going to see a lot more eyes on Hedera, and we're going to see a lot more building happening as well on Hedera. Outside of this, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the events recently that happened on Hedera. Let's go back to the 21st because this is actually from Greg Bell. Now, he was pleased to attend and see Hedera sponsor today's CT Digital Forum crypto event with Paul McCaffrey. This is of KBW. Also, there was individuals from Vanek there speaking, discussing crypto investment banking and even ETFs. Now, this is interesting because the big focus right now around this space and, the big hype machine, if you will, has always been ETFs. Ever since the Bitcoin ETF approval, everyone has nonstop been talking about ETFs and what is going to be the next big one after Ethereum. Because again, we did get the Ethereum one, and everyone was like XRP or Algo or Solana or Doge or HBAR or this, that. And I do think that Hedera is ahead of the competition. Why do I believe that? Well, we're going to address that here in a second. But number one, we got to focus on the institutional connections to Hedera. Hedera has lined up some significant institutional players already. First, let's go back to August 5th of just last year where they joined the IIF. Guys, this is the Institute of International Finance. And this is along with so many big institutional players from, BlackRock to some major banks. You also have, major giants like Accenture on there as well. This is one of the biggest institutional organizations out there, and Hedera is a part of it. Again, the ties back to the institutional players from Hedera's point of view is very significant. Even the recent announcements of them tokenizing with Archix, with Fidelity, and even BlackRock. Like, yeah, I know that it's not direct connections back to BlackRock. It's still very significant to mention the fact that Hedera is paving a way to the institutional side, even through tokenization. And it's really kind of providing a spotlight on how efficient Hedera is to tokenize with, which is very good. And in fact, it provides a big foot through the door for Hedera and a step ahead of the competition. Outside of this, also big shout out to Tokenizer, because when we really think about the institutional and the enterprise side of things, I mean, just take a quick look at all of these names. In terms of the institutional side and even the consortiums that are tied right back to institutions, yeah, you have the Interwork Alliance here, you have the World Economic Forum, Finos, you have so many big names here. But outside of that, you also have massive tech players like Google and T-Mobile. You also have Microsoft. I mean, guys, the connections back to Hedera is so significant. The financial names that are tied back to it, the banking names, the global partners that they have. I mean, everything around the Hedera ecosystem is so significant to mention because it provides an insight on how big Hedera actually is becoming, not just in the Web3 space, but in the TradFi space, the Web2 space. And this is where we start to really kind of paint the picture of how big HBAR will be as well. Now, the big news that dropped today, and I'm sure that you are all aware of it, is the ETF. So I said big news for HBAR holders. I think that we are getting close to the institutional floodgates opening for many of these utility giants, even like XRP as well. And this is the announcement. Breaking. Canary files for spot HBAR ETF with NASDAQ. Guys, we've been hearing about this ETF for a while. The first announcement of the Canary Funds ETF was back in the middle of November. They filed for an Hedera HBAR ETF. This was big then. But mixing in the ETF with NASDAQ is an absolute game changer because this is literally the stock market. This is a very big move on Canary's side. And it's a very big move for even HBAR. If this gets approved, because again, it hasn't gotten approved yet, we're just starting to see the hype from this. But if this gets approved, you better buckle up because things are going to move very fast from that point on. Even when we go over to the actual USD chart, I just shared this chart with you guys yesterday, and I even did share it in a video from noon. But this is exactly what I am looking forward to seeing on this chart. This ETF filing definitely helps us move a little bit to the upside. But I'm watching to see if this gets, if this maintains, and if we actually start to get a bigger impulsive move here. Not only on today's daily candle, but throughout the week, right? We want to focus on this throughout the week because it doesn't happen overnight. It really technically happens kind of like this back here in the end of November, until we start to see these big daily candles like this one back here that was roughly 56% in a single day. If we got a 56% candle here, that would take us to just roughly 35 cents or so. It would be so close to that first major target, which is the major resistance zone that we need to break out of in order for us to actually target those all-time highs up around 57 cents. But this announcement is very, very big, and we already have HBAR moving on the daily up about almost 6%. Nothing too crazy here, obviously. But the big thing here to focus on is what Bitcoin is doing, because although I get it, we don't care about Bitcoin all that much, we still need to focus on Bitcoin because Bitcoin has been chopping. It's been, just kind of very boring for the most part for the last month. And it's down about 8.6% on the last month, while Bitcoin dominance is actually up significantly. So while we focus on the HBAR USD chart, we definitely have to pay attention to the HBAR Bitcoin pair because we want to see this thing hold on to this trend and actually start to break to the upside. Now I can move this because again on the daily it looks a little bit different. I was originally looking at this thing on the 3-day, but this is what it mainly looks like on the daily. We're kind of just in this nice uptrend, if you will, where we're kind of doing this. We really want to just have a big breakout on this chart because the longer that we kind of just chop here, the more and more frustrating it's going to get. But remember, this is the most important chart. It's not the USD chart. This is showing us strength against Bitcoin. So that is the focus right now, is this one breaking out. Not so much the USD chart. The USD chart will break out once we start to gain momentum against Bitcoin. Because right now it's so important to focus on Bitcoin dominance and how strong Bitcoin actually is right now in the market, because any significant move on Bitcoin it will just immediately kill any momentum that these altcoins do have. But I do think that this is a very, very big announcement. And remember that Canary is very bullish on Hedera. Even over here, This was the video from the middle of December where we actually heard from Canary themselves on why they filed for an HBAR ETF. It's simple: true enterprise adoption and South Korean market interest. Check this out.
Well, here's the thing, when we were at Valkyrie, the obvious, we looked at the things that were obvious, right? The things that were, marketable, things like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and even, a couple of others that were, kind of broad market everybody was looking at. And when I took a break before starting Canary, I actually traveled to Tokyo and Korea, part of my old stomping ground from the TradFi world, to see what was happening in crypto over there. Because I don't know if you saw this, Nate, but when it comes to trading pairs, you usually think that, okay, the US dollar is the dominant trading pair for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But for several points in time, the Korean won is the dominant trading pair. And it actually took over as the dominant trading pair in Q4 of 2023, Q1 of 2024. And I said, look, I've got to get over there on the ground, see what's going on, see what they're looking at. And I already had it in the back of my mind that HBAR was quite interesting because it had real enterprise applications. We've already established that Bitcoin is the king cryptocurrency. But what about enterprise applications, which is really the next step here? And not only was I looking at it from that perspective, big industrial uses, enterprise uses, it's a little bit different than your typical blockchain. But when I was in Korea, I realized that it was a top 5 traded token. And there was also a lot going on there. And by the way, that's also how I got to focus on XRP, because it's another one that's huge in Japan, huge in Korea. And they usually lead the way in technology, those two countries. I mean, that was something I learned from my days in video games, right? Those two countries led the way in video games. They had a version of the iPhone 5 years before we had the iPhone. They were using it for, consumer purposes when we were still on commercial over here back in 2007. So that's really what stuck with me was, okay, HBAR. Nobody else is looking at it. I've got an opportunity to be first if we do something there. So let's go out and lead with one of the leading enterprise blockchains that I don't feel like anybody else is paying attention to.
So again, at that time they were, addressing how Hedera was just not being looked at and how they were becoming a giant in the South Korean market. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Hedera is a huge name outside of the US. It always has been. They've been making a lot of noise in Australia for a very long time. They've been making a lot of noise in the UK for a very long time. And now they're definitely making a lot of noise in the US. And I do believe that, listen, this ETF will be approved. I think that a lot of these ETFs are going to be approved this year. I would not write off the idea of this ETF being approved this year and absolutely causing the price of HBAR to go absolutely insane. Right now, the market definitely is a little bit rough with altcoins because they just have not moved in so long. I mean, this chart on the HBAR Bitcoin pair hit a top, or a local top, I should say, back on December 3rd. Guys, it's been 83 days. So when we think about it, these charts are primed for upward price action. We just need Bitcoin and Bitcoin dominance to play along. But once we finally do see that happen, the sky's the limit, because I do believe that HBAR will hit price discovery along with a lot of other additional altcoins. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.